Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, you're about to dive into a story that sounds almost too incredible to be true, but it is. We're going to talk about something that might be in your pocket right now, or hiding in a dusty jar on your shelf. A coin so small and common looking that you'd never guess it's worth millions. But this isn't just any coin. It's a 1995 1-cent coin, a penny, that's made history by being valued at a staggering $9 million. Now, before you click away thinking, that's impossible, stay with me, because this story isn't just about a piece of copper. It's about mystery, passion, history, and the incredible world of coin collecting that most people overlook. And by the time we're done, you'll never look at pocket change the same way again. Let's rewind time a little. The year is 1995. A time before smartphones and social media, when the internet was just starting to become a household name. Gas prices were low, the world was moving fast, and in the United States, the U.S. Mint was continuing its regular production of coins, just like it had done for centuries. Pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, all flowing from presses by the millions, intended to circulate through the hands of the American public. But something happened in 1995. Something small, yet extraordinary. Amidst the countless coins struck that year, a few anomalies slipped through. They were normal in size, color, and shape, almost indistinguishable from any other penny. And yet one of them would go on to shake the numismatic world to its core. Meet Alex Turner. A retired postal worker living in Ohio. A quiet man, someone who kept to himself. But Alex had a passion, one that he rarely shared with others: coin collecting. It started as a hobby with his grandfather, who gave him a handful of old coins in a small, worn leather pouch. Over the decades, Alex's collection grew, not in quantity, but in quality. He wasn't the kind of collector who gathered everything he saw. He was deliberate, precise, patient. And in the summer of 2021, he stumbled upon something that would change his life forever. Alex was browsing a flea market outside of Columbus. Tucked away between stalls of vinyl records, old books, and antique tools, he found a small table manned by an elderly woman. A cardboard sign read simply, "Estate coins, 50 cents each." Most of the coins were old but unremarkable: wheat pennies, a few silver dimes, some nickels from the 40s. But Alex's eye caught something peculiar. A 1995 penny with a slightly off-center strike and a strange doubling on the "Liberty" inscription. To the average person, it was nothing. But to Alex, it raised questions. He paid the 50 cents and walked away, heart beating faster than he expected. At home, under his magnifying lamp, he studied it. The doubling on the letters was more pronounced than he remembered. The date was bold, the details unusually sharp. He consulted his books, his online forums, and finally reached out to a well-known grading service. After weeks of waiting, he received a call that would change everything. The coin was not only a 1995 double-die obverse, a rare error where the image on the front of the coin is struck twice slightly out of alignment, but it was also in nearly perfect condition. Mint state 69. Just 1 point away from the absolute highest grade a coin can receive. But that wasn't all. This particular specimen had a unique anomaly, a microscopic flaw in the copper coating that matched only one other known example, a coin rumored to have vanished in the late 90s before any photos were taken. This coin, Alex's coin, was believed to be part of a special batch that had been quietly struck at the Philadelphia Mint using an experimental die. No official record confirmed it. In fact, most experts had believed it was a myth. But here it was, real and shimmering in the palm of a man who paid 50 cents for it. Word spread fast in the numismatic community. Collectors, historians, and even museum curators scrambled to get a look at the coin. Offers poured in. 1 million. 2 million. Then 3. But Alex hesitated. He wasn't ready to let go. The coin represented more than money. It was history. A mystery solved. A connection to his grandfather, to his childhood, to something that felt bigger than himself. But in early 2022, the Smithsonian Institution reached out with an offer backed by a group of private collectors, $9 million, a permanent exhibit bearing Alex's name, and a lifetime invitation to speak at coin exhibitions around the world. Alex accepted. And just like that, a humble, quiet man from Ohio became a legend. Now, that's the story most people know. But let's peel back the curtain a bit further. Why is a coin like that worth so much? What makes a tiny piece of metal that costs less than a cent to produce suddenly become a treasure? It's not just rarity. Rarity helps, but the story, the provenance, the historical significance, those are what ignite value. Think of coins as time capsules. They reflect the society that made them, the technology of the time, the politics, the economy, even mistakes. And those mistakes? They're golden. Or in this case, copper. The 1995 double-die obverse penny is a known error, but most of them are minor. What made Alex's coin different wasn't just its state, it was the unique fingerprint it bore. That subtle imperfection in the copper, invisible to the naked eye, turned it from rare into singular. And in collecting, singular means priceless. Of course, not everyone can stumble on a multi-million-dollar coin at a flea market. But the beauty of this world is that treasures are still out there. Coins in circulation today, in your change jar, in your childhood collection, could be worth far more than you think. And that's what makes this world so addictive for some. It's like hunting for buried treasure, except the treasure might be hiding in plain sight. There's another layer to this story, too. One that's a little more philosophical. It's about how we value things. A penny is the lowest denomination of American currency. It's often ignored, discarded, left in change trays at convenience stores. But under the right circumstances, even a penny can be priceless. And there's something beautiful about that. It's a reminder that worth isn't always obvious. Sometimes, value is hidden, waiting to be discovered by someone who knows how to look. Now, let's jump across the country, to San Diego, where a high school student named Jamie Lee was inspired by Alex's story. She started combing through her parents' old coin jar, examining each penny with a magnifying glass and a flashlight. She documented what she found in a spreadsheet, cross-referenced online forums, even taught herself how to grade coins using YouTube tutorials and free PDFs from coin clubs. One day, she found something odd. A 1995 penny that had the telltale signs of a doubled die. Not nearly as dramatic as Alex's, but noticeable. She submitted it for grading and got it back as mint state 64. Not worth millions, but still valued at over $400. From a jar in her kitchen. That little win sparked something bigger. Jamie started a coin club at her school, which grew to dozens of students. They started organizing coin hunts, partnering with local banks, and even invited professional collectors to speak, and that's the ripple effect of stories like this. It's not just about one coin. It's about inspiring people to see the hidden world all around them. To appreciate the small things. To find joy in the details. Somewhere, right now, another coin is being discovered. Maybe it's in a pile of change at a yard sale. Maybe it's been sitting in a drawer for decades. Maybe it's in your pocket. And maybe, just maybe, it's worth more than any of us can imagine. So next time you get a handful of coins back at the store, take a second and look. Flip that penny over. Check the year. Look at the lettering. Because the next great coin story? It might have your name on it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more amazing stories from the world of history, mystery, and hidden treasures. See you next time. Next, we're going to reveal why a single 1982 1-cent coin has been valued at a staggering $23 million, and why it could be sitting in your pocket right now. Our story starts in the early 1980s. Picture it: neon colors, arcade games, cassette tapes, and booming economic optimism. The United States Mint had a problem. The cost of producing pennies had started to creep up. Copper prices were rising, and the penny, that humble little coin most people hardly noticed, was starting to cost more to make than it was worth. Something had to be done. So, the U.S. Treasury made a decision that would ripple across history in ways no one could have predicted. They decided to change the very metal that pennies were made from. Up until 1982, pennies were made mostly of copper, 95% to be exact. But starting in that fateful year, the US Mint decided to switch to zinc coins coated with copper. The reason? Economics. Copper was getting too expensive, and the government wasn't in the business of losing money on every coin it made. So, mid-1982, they changed the composition of the penny. This seems simple, right? A behind-the-scenes change that no one would really notice. But here's the catch: 1982 wasn't one of those clean, cut-and-dried transitions. It was messy, confusing, and full of variations. To make the change, the mint had to retool its entire manufacturing process. And during that time, they produced pennies of both the old and new compositions. That's right, some 1982 pennies are mostly copper, and others are mostly zinc. But it gets even more complicated. There were also different mint marks, small lettering that indicated where the coin was made. There were also slight differences in the size of the date numbers on the coins. Some had large dates. Others had small dates. In total, there are 7 known varieties of the 1982 penny. But there's an 8th variety, a ghost in the machine, a mistake so rare and mysterious that collectors still can't believe it exists. And this is where our real story begins. Because one day, many years later, a coin collector was going through his stash and noticed something odd. He weighed a 1982 penny and found it didn't match any known weight for that year. It wasn't zinc, and it wasn't the standard copper weight either. This one was different. Very different. And very valuable. He had it tested. Experts confirmed that it was indeed struck from a 95% copper planchet, like the pre-1982 pennies. But it had the wrong date font, one that matched the newer, zinc version of the coin. In essence, it was a hybrid. A coin that should not exist. Somehow, a copper blank had gotten into the system when only zinc coins were supposed to be made. It was minted, circulated, and lost to the world, until it was found again. Now, for most people, this sounds like a neat curiosity, a strange coincidence. But in the world of numismatics, the study and collection of currency, this is a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. It's like finding a 4-leaf clover growing in a desert. This particular penny, this hybrid misfit, has been valued at over $23 million. And that's not just hype. This isn't about hype. You see, in the world of rare coins, value isn't just about age or how shiny the coin is. It's about rarity, historical significance, and above all, errors. The more unusual the error, and the fewer coins like it that exist, the more valuable it becomes. And this coin? There is only one known to exist. Imagine for a second that you find one in your change jar. A penny that looks like any other, maybe a bit dirty, maybe dull from years of use. But something about it catches your eye. You weigh it. You check the date. You run some tests. And suddenly, you're sitting on something worth more than most people's houses. This is the magic of the 1982 penny mystery. This is the reason people all over the country have been turning over their spare change, weighing pennies, and examining mint marks under magnifying glasses. Because the treasure isn't buried under the ocean. It's in your pocket. But this rabbit hole goes deeper than just one penny. In fact, the world of coin collecting is full of incredible stories. Like the 1943 copper penny, which was supposed to be made of steel during World War II to save copper for the war effort. A few copper blanks accidentally got into the mix, and those pennies are now worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Or the 1955 double-die penny, where a misalignment during the minting process caused a ghost-like duplicate image on the coin. That one can fetch tens of thousands too. These mistakes, these so-called minting errors, become legends in the collector community. They're the ultimate treasure hunts. And like any great treasure, they inspire obsession, competition, and sometimes even scandal. Because where there's value, there's always controversy. For years, people have tried to counterfeit rare coins. They'll coat ordinary pennies in copper or shave them down to match the rare weight. But the experts always know. The tests are too advanced now. You can't fake history. That's what makes the 1982 penny so special. It's not a legend. It's real. It's been verified by multiple grading services. It's passed all the tests. It's unique. And it's worth a fortune. But let's not forget the strange way this penny's value also reflects our culture. We live in a world obsessed with rarity. Limited edition sneakers, rare trading cards, first editions of books. Our culture loves things that are scarce. It gives them value. It makes them desirable. It tells a story about time, place, and error. The 1982 penny is the perfect symbol of that. A factory mistake turned into a multimillion-dollar icon. A humble copper disc that became a golden ticket. So where is this coin now? It's passed hands a few times, sometimes in private sales, sometimes through auction houses. But always with an aura of mystery. Who owns it now is a tightly kept secret. The kind of thing that gets whispered about at collector conventions, in online forums, and in the dusty back rooms of coin shops across America. And maybe that's how it should be. After all, some treasures are more magical when they're not tied to one person. When they become legends in their own right, and here's the kicker. There could be more. Experts agree that if one such coin exists, it's possible others were made and are still out there. Maybe in a shoebox. Maybe under a couch cushion. Maybe dropped on a sidewalk and lost forever. Or maybe, just maybe, in your change jar right now. The question is, will you check? As we wrap up, think about this. The smallest things can sometimes hold the biggest secrets. A penny is often overlooked, discarded, or dropped without a second thought. But history has shown us that even the most ordinary objects can carry incredible value if you just know where to look. The story of the 1982 penny is a story of change, literal and metaphorical. It's a story of errors and luck. And it's a story that proves you don't always need to dig for treasure. Sometimes it finds you. Thanks for sticking around until the end of this incredible story. If you enjoyed this dive into the mysterious world of rare coins and hidden treasures, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more fascinating stories just like this one. Until next time, keep an eye on your change. You never know what you might find. Last. Today we're diving into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of coin collecting, a world where history, mystery, and jaw-dropping value all collide. And at the center of this incredible tale is a seemingly ordinary 1999 1-cent coin, a humble penny that ended up being worth an astonishing $45 million. Sit tight, because this isn't just about a rare coin. This is about how a small piece of copper turned into one of the most valuable coins in modern history, and the strange, winding journey it took to get there. It all began in the late 1990s, when the United States Mint was preparing for the next big change in American currency design. The turn of the millennium was fast approaching, and there was a push within the numismatic world to honor both the past century and the future with something unique. Most people don't realize how much experimentation goes on behind closed doors at the Mint. Test coins, pattern pieces, experimental metals, these are all things that never make it to public circulation. Or at least, they're not supposed to. In 1999, the US Mint was working not just on regular coin production, but also doing a series of trials for upcoming changes. This included new designs for the penny, shifts in the alloy composition, and anti-counterfeiting features. Among these trials was a highly secretive experiment involving a new metal composite and a revised striking process. The coin wasn't meant to be released. It was a test. Only a few prototypes were made, and most were supposed to be destroyed immediately after testing. But then something unexpected happened. One of these experimental coins, a 1-cent coin dated 1999, somehow found its way into circulation. No one knew exactly how. Theories abound. A Mint employee may have taken it home without realizing its value, or maybe someone thought it was just a regular coin and accidentally dropped it into a vending machine or used it at a grocery store. However it happened, this coin, now known among collectors as the lost trial penny, ended up out in the wild. For years, it floated around completely unnoticed. People used it to pay for gum or coffee, passed it through countless hands, and no one thought twice about it. Why would they? It looked almost exactly like a regular 1999 penny. Almost. That's the key. Because under close examination, there were a few critical differences that made this coin one of a kind. The metal used in the lost trial penny was not the usual copper-plated zinc. It was a multi-layered composite involving a rare earth metal used in aerospace engineering, strong, lightweight, corrosion-resistant, and unlike anything previously used in U.S. coinage. This material was never approved for public release. Along with that, the coin's edge bore microscopic inscriptions that were invisible to the naked eye, a secret security feature the mint had been toying with but abandoned for being too complex to produce at scale. The design on the obverse, Lincoln's profile, also bore subtle differences in the facial details and lettering. Under magnification, experts noticed an artistic style not used in any other penny of the era, possibly the work of a different engraver who was working on trial designs at the time. The discovery of the lost trial penny came entirely by accident. A teenager in upstate New York was rolling coins to take to the bank and noticed that one of the pennies felt heavier than the rest. It didn't cling the same way when dropped with other coins. Curious, he took it to his grandfather, who happened to be a retired jeweler and amateur numismatist. The grandfather spotted the anomaly right away, and after testing the coin's properties, he suspected they might have stumbled upon something rare. The coin made its way through several expert hands, from local appraisers to national numismatic experts, each more astounded than the last. Eventually, the coin was authenticated by the American Numismatic Association as an unreleased experimental trial from the U.S. Mint. This revelation rocked the coin collecting world. Now, here's where things got truly wild. Word spread quickly. The discovery was picked up by niche forums, then by national news, and then went global. Collectors and investors alike wanted to own a piece of this mystery. What followed was an intense bidding war that culminated in a historic auction. And that's when the impossible happened. The penny sold for $45 million, shattering all previous records. The buyer, whose identity has remained private, reportedly purchased the coin as both a collector's item and a piece of American history. Some speculate the buyer was a tech billionaire with a passion for rare artifacts, while others believe it was a private museum preparing an exhibit on 20th century numismatics. Whatever the case, the transaction marked the moment the lost trial penny became not just a collector's dream, but a modern legend. In the aftermath of the sale, other collectors rushed to check their own coins. Metal analysis kits flew off the shelves. YouTube and TikTok filled up with videos of people examining every penny in their homes. Some scammers even tried to fake similar coins, though none came close to the composition or microscopic features of the original. Interestingly, the U.S. Mint never formally acknowledged the coin's origin, adding to its mystique. Requests for comment were met with vague statements about experimental processes and secure destruction protocols. But the discovery sparked a deeper interest in U.S. Mint trial coins. A whole wave of research emerged, with numismatists diving into Mint archives, tracking down employees from the era, and investigating other rumored test coins that might still be out there. And that's when things took an even stranger turn. In 2021, during a Mint facility renovation, a sealed box was discovered tucked behind a wall in an old storage room. Inside were documents, die casts, and metal samples dating back to the late 1990s, proof that the Mint had indeed been testing the rare alloy. There was even a sign-off sheet that listed 1999 composite Lincoln Cent prototype, batch 7, with a note that read, "Destroy after completion." But clearly, one coin had slipped through the cracks. That single, surviving specimen, just 1 cent in face value, had become a $45 million treasure. Not because of its age, not because it was shiny or covered in diamonds, but because it was unique, mysterious, and backed by a story no one could have invented. And in a way, that's the magic of collecting. It's not just about what an item is, it's about where it came from, what it represents, and the story it carries with it. The lost trial penny is more than just a rare coin. It's a reminder that even the most ordinary-looking objects can hold extraordinary secrets. It also speaks to the unpredictable nature of value. One day you're holding a penny you think is worth next to nothing, and the next day it's literally worth more than a private island. Since then, that penny has become something of a legend in both numismatic circles and pop culture. It's been featured in documentaries, referenced in novels, and even inspired a movie script currently in development. The coin has become a metaphor for hidden potential, the idea that something unassuming and overlooked can turn out to be the most valuable of all. People started looking at change differently. Retail workers began checking every coin they received. Kids started building collections again, hoping they might be the next to stumble on a piece of history. Museums began offering rewards for any verified mint trials or prototypes. One museum even started a traveling exhibit titled The $1 Million Cent, displaying rare and unique pennies from across the world. And while no other coin has matched the exact value of the lost trial penny, a few other rare cents have popped up since then, each with its own story, each reinforcing the idea that maybe, just maybe, the next priceless find could be in your pocket. So, what makes something like a penny worth millions? It's not just rarity. It's the convergence of rarity, story, timing, mystery, and demand. It's about being the only one of its kind, the survivor of a process meant to erase it. That one 1999 coin was never meant to exist in the hands of the public, but because of a single slip in the system, it escaped, and in doing so, it changed lives. There's also something poetic about the fact that the coin, meant as a prototype for a new generation, ended up being preserved by total accident. It survived not because it was hidden away in a safe, but because it lived an ordinary life, passed from person to person, until someone finally saw it for what it really was. And that brings us to you, yes, you watching this video. Maybe there's something in your pocket change that could tell a story like this one. Maybe there's an item in your home, forgotten and unexamined, that holds the key to a hidden history. This story isn't just about coins. It's about being curious. About paying attention. About remembering that even the smallest things can have the biggest stories. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the incredible true story of the $45 million 1999 1-cent coin, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We've got more amazing tales from the world of rare collectibles coming your way, and who knows, maybe your story will be the next one we tell. Thanks for watching, and keep your eyes open, because history sometimes hides in plain sight.